Good morning, Metaverse. I'm Thor with the OCG and Mafia Guild, and today we are not doing a ship review. We're going to look at Scream, which is the Star Atlas browser-based minigame that will be able to utilize and play our NFT ships for the very first time. This is not the full immersion Unreal Engine 5 game that is the ultimate goal for Star Atlas, but this is the next level of minigame or browser game that we can actually use and get some real gameplay in. So I'm very excited about that. We're going to go through how it's going to be laid out, the way it's going to be played, some articles that we can look at to get a better idea, as well as look at a few of the games that is inspired Scream, and then also the factions and how they work together. So there'll be timestamps to jump from one segment to the other. And don't worry about liking or subscribing and screw the algorithm, but if you think someone could use this and would want to be part of the Star Atlas community, then go ahead and share it with them. So without further ado, let's get into it. Cool, so we have the first article I want to talk about is the Atlas Star issue 7, and that is going to have a lot of information that you'll want to read over and to get a solid base of what Scream is going to be and how it's going to play. And so let's take a look at the pictures that we have here, the concepts, and compare it to the other video game that has actually inspired a lot of what they're going to do with Scream. And we know this from some of the developers' interviews and town halls, and it's going to be very similar to another game called Stellaris. And this can be found on Steam, and I believe you can buy it for $39.99, something like that. It's a really fun video game. I've played several that are much like that as well. There's some mobile games. I'll link some other good ideas for you just to get the feeling of mechanics and be familiar with it by the time Scream starts, so there's not much learning curve. So let's look at the pictures and see where we're headed. And so this is the solar system that we will see on Scream. You have the sun, the planets, you have two groups of ships, one in blue outline, one in red outline, opposing factions. And then you have the readouts in the side. You have both what the planet is going to be like, and so you can have a zoom in on what the resources are there after you scan it, perhaps. And then on the far end of the screen, you'll have a layout of all the other details you can think of in that sector in that solar system about the ships and the resources for those different planets. And then it looks like it's broken up into different sectors in that solar system that individual ships can occupy and interact in. And so let's take a look at that and then compare it to the Stellaris solar system. And this is the Stellaris solar system. So more detail. This game has been out for much longer, but the layout is still relatively the same. You've got the sun, you've got the planets with their pop-up windows that give you the description of them, and then you can move your ships into different areas within that solar system. And so if that is the direction that Scream is going, that I'm really excited about. Now let's look at some of the larger galactic atlas pictures and concepts. Here we have a common picture that's been used to describe the way the faction is going to be laid out. It's abstract, but we have the different factions that are in colored circles: oosters, onis, mud, and then in the center you have the cataclysm with the high risk zone. That's where full ship destruction is going to happen. That's where the extremely rare materials are going to be located. And then outside from those colored circles, you have the larger circles that are the medium risk zones, and that's going to be a large part of the first version of Scream is going to be played in the medium risk zone. So from that, let's look at the Stellaris Galactic Atlas. Okay, so we have a much more detailed version of the galaxy, and you see each of those little dots are solar systems that you can click into and zoom into our previous picture. And then there are the lines connecting to those solar systems. Those are the travel routes. and you can travel from one solar system to the next. And then the colored regions are the regions of control for the different factions or other groups in those areas. And those color regions mean that you have the majority control of those regions, and there's benefits for doing so. And so if Scream is going to go and make it look and feel much like this Stellaris game, this will be a really cool layout and way to look at it. Let's do a little bit closer look to get some more details. Okay, now we're zoomed in here, and you can see again those regions, the travel routes, these solar systems, and then some more details about the ships and the characters and the more galactic outline. And some of that information on the top there is going to be really useful for having that overarching or the large view. You're the general of your fleets, and as you expand your fleets, you'll eventually be able to have multiple fleets moving in different areas of the solar systems of the whole galaxy. And so that's going to be essential for coordinating with other guild members, other faction members, to coordinate your efforts from one solar system to the next. So that's really exciting. So that gives us a decent idea of what Scream is going to look like. Let's hop back into the Atlas Star issue 7 and see how that game is going to be structured and the mechanics. Now, the storyline, the lore that is being developed is that this galaxy is starting to feel tensions between the major factions, all of the factions in fact, and there's starting to be an arms race and a resource scarcity. And so rising tension is where we come into this galaxy, and you're going to be working with your factions to establish galactic domination. Okay, so galactic domination is the overarching storyline, and the way we're going to achieve that galactic domination is through setting up star bases in the different solar systems and establishing control over those solar systems. Now, star bases, once you set one up in a solar system, you're going to be able to bring resources back to it. You're going to be able to manufacture modules and components and ships there. Your hangars, which we'll talk about in a second, are going to be located at these star bases. And so the star bases are going to be the most important feature for your factions in all of your star systems or solar systems. And you're going to want to coordinate with other DACs and guilds in your faction to be able to build that out and expand your reach to more resources to then grow your fleets. And so it's a really nice way of tying in different people and the need for communication and coordination within your groups, within your factions, which can be hundreds to thousands of people working together to make it happen. That's really exciting, and to be able to bring that kind of utility and interaction to Scream is fantastic. Now, what's the benefit of working with other people in your faction? Well, in order to build your fleets, you're going to need to execute faction-based missions, because there's two ways to grow your fleet. You can either get more hangars, and so let's talk a little bit about hangars. You'll, to start the game, get one hangar, and it's going to be an extra small or an extra small. They haven't decided the size as far as I know yet, but you'll get that first hangar, and that would be like an X4, an Opel Jet, or a Fimbule air bike, something like that. Now, you can get more hangars, and more numbers of hangars, through executing faction-based missions, and you'll get loyalty points. So loyalty points are required to get more hangars, which allows you to put more ships on the field. Now, what if I have a large ship? You know, I've got a capital ship. I want to get that out. How do I do that? Well, you can take your hangar and you can upgrade it with Atlas. And so that's a utility for Atlas. So bringing a utility for Atlas into Scream is fantastic. They haven't decided the cost, the actual cost of Atlas to upgrade from one level to the other, whether it's going to be linear or exponential as you get higher size ships. they're trying to weigh out. You don't want it to be a pay to win type game. That's not fun. Those games just die. But you also don't want to have a big penalty for the people that decided to go out and buy expensive ships, right? They've put a lot into the ecosystem already, so that shouldn't be a penalty for that. Now, I have large ships, and I'm confident in Star Atlas to be able to find a reasonable solution for that. They've done very well in the past, and I know that however it works, I'm going to be able to prosper in it. But I definitely want a fun and competitive game to play in above all. So that's how those hangars will work, and that's why you're incentivized to both play the game and earn Atlas to increase the size of your ships, but also to do faction-based missions to get loyalty points to have more hangars, so you get more of your ships out there. Now, I have a lot of hangars, so I'm going to be doing a lot of faction missions right off the bat to be able to get my ships out there and have more influence in the game. But all of these actions are encouraging productivity and action in the game. If you're passive, if you don't play this game very much, you're not going to have as much influence in the game. And I think that's one of the dynamics that is most exciting about this and most promising in as far as its ability to make a fun game. Now, in regards to resource collection and combat, those are the other parts of the games that exist outside of the starbase areas. You're going to be looking at getting more resources and rare resources, and so by increasing the size of your starbase, you'll expand the amount of planets that you have access to and are able to mine resources from. And so building that starbase is going to be important for resource collection. Each planet is going to be unique, have different levels of different resources, and then each sector, each faction region is going to have different resources that are rare and common, and we'll go into that in a little bit when we talk about the factions, but each of those planets is unique, and you're going to want to grow that influence so you can have access to more and more planets for those resources to keep building your fleets and the starbase as well. And so while you're doing that, it's not just a calm peaceful environment that you're going through. You're expanding territory into regions that already have people living there and other minor factions. And so there's some other minor factions between the major ones. You have the major ones, which let's go over the factions right now. We have the three majors, which are Mud Territory, Ooster Sector, and Oni Region. Now, when you're on the Star Atlas marketplace, you can choose your faction, and so when you do so, the factions have a basic backstory to it, and then here are two main parts you want to take a look at. You have faction traits, which for the Mud Territory, it says firepower and industrious. So firepower, obviously your guns are going to have a bigger punch. For industrious, your building time and maybe even cost is going to be reduced for people in the Mud faction. Or Mud Territory. So then the local resources, and this is where we'll find out the rarity of resources in different regions. There are going to be 20 resources, and so there are 3: Tenon, Hycenium, and Diamond. Hycenium and Diamond. And those 3 are going to be prominent in the Mud Territory and may be rare in the other regions. In Ooster, the sentient AI androids, these faction traits are going to have hull strength and exploratory. So obviously the defense and hull hit points are going to be higher on the Ooster ships, and the exploratory, so censoring, data collection, that type of thing is going to be improved, and so the discovery of resources on different planets, etc., will be of benefit. So local resources: Viscovite, Dodeline, and Lithium, and I hope I'm pronouncing those right. But those are going to be more prominent in the Ooster sector. For Oni, Oni is going to have diplomatic and technological faction traits. And so when you're going into these new regions, some of those sub-factions that I just mentioned, like the Jarvis or the Ecos Heretics or Tufa, you may be able to develop diplomatic relationships with them and have less conflict with those sub-factions in new regions, which could be a big benefit for cutting down repair costs from conflict. Also, the technological, in the technology tree, as you progress and grow, maybe the time for new technology is reduced, or maybe there's even further progression that's available only for the Onis. That could be a very strong benefit in late gameplay. So that's something to take a look at. Those are the three factions, and so if you haven't chosen one, then that's something to take a look at. If you've already chosen a faction, then that should help you understand some of the places you'll have a natural benefit in your gameplay. So we've gone through what Scream is going to look like, or may look like, through looking at Stellaris. We've gone through the storylines and lore that bring that game to life, gone over the star bases and how they influence the galactic dominance, and the importance of working with your faction to build your star bases in order to build your own fleets, and that all of these actions that you take for the faction is benefiting and is rewarded. The more time you spend in Scream and the more time you spend building your faction, the more you will then get in return. We'll be looking to see how they solve and set up the hangar expansion concept for people with larger ships and many ships. So that'll be something for us to take a look at and watch. And then we've talked about the other sub-factions and the environmental aspect of the game in and of itself. So when you're engaged in conflict, when you have a battle, it's important to know that there's going to be one winner and one loser. And decisions in this game matter, which I am really excited about. I love games that you have to sit down and put a good think in to what's the best thing that I could be doing right now. Am I overreaching, or do I need to push harder? A lot of strategy to that, and interaction with other players and how it should naturally encourage that. I think that's all very powerful for this game as a whole. I think it'll be fun to see and to watch that. I think it looks good and clean. Looking at Stellaris, that's a game type that I enjoy. So definitely all positives for that. And the COPA is actually going on right now, or in a few hours. From when I'm recording this. So hopefully we get a little bit more information from that event. So the COPA, Council of Peace Assembly, if you have the chance to be a part of it, check in, take a look at some of the other DACs and guilds that are going to be involved in this game, and what the environment is going to start feeling like for your different factions. So you can start playing this game and get a good start, and get a bit of a head start from people that are just getting into this, so you can be successful in Star Atlas and have a fun time building your empire in the Star Atlas universe. So hopefully this was helpful. Again, don't worry about liking or subscribing. You can screw the algorithm. I don't care. I just want to find people that want to play this game with me, to have fun and talk about this stuff. Check out the Mafia Star Atlas Discord link in the description below. Drop me a line. We can have a chat. I know this is definitely something I love talking about. And I love to hear other people's inputs. If there's other ships that you'd like to have reviewed, put them in the comments below, or any other subject matter, and I'll look at putting together a video and expanding on those concepts. So if you could do that, then today was a good day. Good morning, Metaverse.